Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. It's the Dynasty Stock Market with Biggs and Key. I am Biggs. He is Key, and we are here to do our first episode of a post NFL draft rookie mock. This one's going to be fun. I got the 101 because I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like I know who I'm taking. Uh, we have a lot of rookies and draft stuff to talk about, and we got to get into this draft. So let's jump into it and get this thing rocking.
Let's go. So we got Biggs on the clock, and even though I set up this mock room, I made sure not to just go ahead and take the 101. All right, lay it on us. Who you got here?
Well, I have to take Ashton Genty. Doing my research, so of course he had more loaded boxes than anybody else in college football last year, and he had 41% missed tackles forced on his runs. That's insane. And so some people have been, looking at what other Mountain West running backs have done, and no, they're successful Mountain West running backs in the NFL when they were in college, because people are worried about the competition level. Well, there are myriad running backs who came out of the Mountain West, and none of them had numbers near what Genty was doing as far as missed tackles were concerned. So Raiders beefed up offensive line, more yards before contact, and Genty is going to cook. So I don't have a problem with hitting the 101 with him now. I know that my strategy in the beginning of the draft season was to go with like a McMillan or a wide receiver and get deep running backs later. But in my estimation, there's really only 6 running backs now that I'm willing to draft.
Yeah, man. There's I think a big 6. RJ Harvey has to be the end of that 6 for you, if I'm guessing. I thought it might have capped out at Caleb Johnson, pre-draft, but RJ Harvey ends up going to the dream landing spot to the Denver Broncos, and I mean that's just I can't wait to see where he goes. I'm already in 2 real rookie drafts right now. I've had the 102 and the 103. At the 103, Hampton fell to me in one of those drafts, so I took him there. Here, Cam Ward is who ends up being, to me, my best option, because I'm basing this on it's just a random rookie draft. I don't have a team. I don't know if I'm a rebuilder or if I'm a contender. And
Right.
For me, I can't hate on the value of a quarterback, especially if I feel like this is the only quarterback I feel confident in this draft. Otherwise, I would have gone Travis Hunter there purely for the upside.
We got to talk some Jackson Dart then, because I am 100% in on Jackson Dart being a top 5 draft pick in Superflex leagues. He got the first round draft capital. He got a couple. He's got a couple of fantastic running back receiving options. He's got Malik Neighbors out there. He's got Theo Johnson coming up. He's got Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a target hog, even though he has a low ADOT and everything. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why you're going to want Jackson Dart. The main one is the first round draft capital. So we know that rules in Superflex Dynasty. And then you look at who is ahead of him on the depth chart. Okay. You have Russell Wilson, who's basically cooked, and Jameis Winston, who's a cut candidate because of his contract. There's not a whole lot stopping Jackson Dart from going in and completely taking over from rookie mini camp and training camp and everything. And one of the keys, and everybody had Shedeur Sanders going to the Giants early or later in the first round, whatever. But all of the hubbub about Shedeur's fall, a lot of it had to do with him and his interviews, and very, very telling comments from Brian Daboll about Shedeur Sanders not knowing the install when he came into the meeting. They traded up into the first round to get Jackson Dart. He knew the install. The kid does his homework. He's a smart football player. He's going to earn that job super, super quick. And he has the rushing upside, the cheat code in Dynasty. He's definitely a top 5 pick for me.
Yeah, I love it, dude. We expected Giants to figure out the QB situation. Jackson Dart he's got weapons, and I imagine they continue to add weapons there. You took your guy, Cam Scatterbo, so that is just another weapon for him out of the backfield. They're going to get their tight end back healthy. So I think the Giants made the right decision. And getting the defense solid, you keep the games manageable, so he's not forced to throw interceptions, things like that. So
Yeah.
I could see it be a really good year one, and he's got plenty of veterans there to help show him the way. And real quickly, just want to do a quick promo as we get into the offseason here, guys.
Let's go.
We'll be right back.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams. And then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs. And then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
All right, man.
Real quickly, we got a question from GXRP. IDP Superflex Tick Hunter #1. I have in my home league, it's an IDP league, and I have the 101, and I'm absolutely smashing Hunter. To get out of a defensive back or a cornerback slot to get his offensive points is just going to be.
Whoops! We're pausing that. Hold up.
Oh,
redo.
So not only did Shedeur Sanders fall into the 5th round in the real NFL draft, but he just got drafted by Dynasty F-Key and then removed.
Hey,
that's worse than falling.
We're running the ads. You know how it goes. All right, we're back. All right.
So I wanted to talk running backs real quick because basically at this point, only the 6 that I have marked have gone off the board so far. And that's not to say that, and I misspoke earlier when I said those are the only ones I'm drafting. It's not that the other ones aren't worth drafting. It's that we look at a couple things when we're talking about dynasty and rookie running backs coming into the league. And one of them is who's in the running back room with them and what those running backs draft capital and contract situations are. So I'm kind of iffy on Hampton, not because of his talent level, but because Najee is there and they gave Najee a free agent contract. What should happen is that Najee should be RB2. And if they play it right, the Chargers should do that with Hampton as the lead back. The other one that, and you mentioned earlier, was RJ Harvey. By all estimations, get it? By all Audric estimations, RJ Harvey should be the lead back, but it's a Sean Payton running back room. We don't know what's going to happen. A lot of us thought there was no way Audric Estime was going to come in last year and not beat Javonte Williams. And over the course of the season, we saw that Estime was more efficient than Javonte, but he still never really took over. So you don't know what Sean Payton is doing, and that's what makes me a little bit wary on that one. Now, as far as that goes, Scatterbo, I love his situation in New York. He has Tyrone Tracy in front of him, and he has better draft capital than Tyrone Tracy. Plus, he led the NCAA in receiving yards for running backs last year. And then, oh no, is my guy gone? See, I
20
start
seconds
talking, and I
know,
missed
man.
out. Where? Oh yeah, Kyle Williams.
And we already know the ADPs aren't fully there yet, so we can't rely on Jack Squat.
Now, to finish the thought with the New York Giants, you do have Devin Singletary. His cap hit, if they were to cut him, is $6 million. So that's kind of a scary number that's standing out there. So Scatterbo, if you go by contracts, should go into the season based on draft capital as the RB2 behind Singletary. But Scatterbo's talent might take over. So we'll see what the New York Giants do. But
yeah, I just heard a quote. Coach Speak Index was reporting back, and he was saying there's a high believability in the coaches from the Giants, and the coaches and GM have a quote saying, he's talking about all of his athleticism and versatility out of the backfield as a receiver, but also his personality on the field. And apparently, when coaches are talking about the personality on the field, that's just that means they really, really like the player. And I don't know, man. I'm nervous for Tyrone Tracy, and want to keep it rolling. Where I ended up taking Jaden Blue. For me, he is the 10th best running back that I want, and I feel like there's a little bit of a tier break there. There's guys I like still that I would take shots on. But even pre NFL draft, I was taking shots on these guys that are running backs, and I think Blue has an opportunity to be the lead back for Dallas, not in the far too distant future. You got Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. Sanders may not make the team. They did draft another back late, but I think Blue has some of the best speed in the class, 4.38. So
I just got sniped in real time.
Nice.
Yeah, I like the Jaden Blue option. He does have the 5th round draft capital. Javonte's in front of him with a big free agent contract, but then he only has $1 million dead cap if he's cut. So they don't lose a lot if they feel like Javonte is running through concrete. And Miles Sanders has a dead cap hit of 1.167 million. So they are only losing out on $2 million if they cut both of their veterans and stick with rookies or other undrafted free agent types, that kind of thing. They could have a super cheap running back room and it would only cost them $2 million. So Jaden Blue has a chance to really get in there and shine.
Yeah, and we've seen it twice in a row. We've seen it with their last running back and Tony Pollard, both later running backs getting opportunities. Dallas is just cheap at the running back position.
Now, I thought that this was a 5-round draft. So I had Lan Larison queued up.
No, we'll make it 5. Let's go.
Okay.
So
now somebody's going to steal Lan Larison.
Too late. It should be 5 though. I don't know what's going on here.
Also, Tommy Millott just got taken.
Try
Raiders wide receiver, but he's in sleeper as a quarterback. I don't know if you want to do that because you're looking, at a very marginal wide receiver transition. He could be the next Julian Edelman, but let's remember it took Julian Edelman a few years to get to that level.
No, we're in the 5th round already. What are you talking about?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's just Larison's just fall so hard, bro.
No, I misread it.
Yeah, it's okay. No, let's get out before we get another round in. Boom. All right.
That's a 6th round draft.
Yeah, I'm not ready for
there.
6th round
It's
draft. We're good.
We're done.
Yeah. All right, guys. So thanks everybody for jumping in here. Really appreciate you guys today. I think it was the least amount of time it took to fill a room. People are excited about the drafts, and we're gonna start diving into some of these teams. And look, Lan Larison, he didn't. Where did he land?
He's with the Patriots.
So, I mean, year 2, maybe, but
yeah. So essentially, what's going to happen is he's a UDFA. He's going to go out there healthy, go through rookie minicamp. He's absolutely a Mike Vrabel type. He's hard nosed. He allowed 0 pressures in pass blocking over the course of the 2024 season. He was the highest ranked pass blocking running back in FBS and FCS. He had over 800 yards receiving. He had 1,400 yards rushing. He had 23 touchdowns. He used to compete in rodeo, which is where he gets his contact balance from. He's 6'1", 215, so he's got the size and durability. Everything. He ran a 4.46 a couple months after surgery. He would have had the 2nd fastest shuttle time if he had been at the combine. Everything points to this kid had 4th round talent, and he goes UDFA, which is basically you get to pick your organization, and you got to go with Vrabel. He's gonna earn his spot based on special teams and his ability to do everything in the backfield.
I'm not going to doubt you, man. You've been right on so many of these players, so we'll see what happens. We'll follow along. I'm absolutely sure of that, and that makes me want to actually start with my team first, which normally I don't even review my team. But Isaac Tesla, we saw him dominate the combine. He's one of the top guys on my Phenom Finder model. And look, Detroit Lions, I don't know if they're going to resign Jameson Williams. He's got talent, so I'm actually not going to say that they don't. But they were kind of relying on Josh Reynolds, and even years before that, guys that maybe lesser on a totem pole. So it made sense to get an athletic guy to just make sure you have another option when there are some of these injuries. In the 4th round, I'm actually kind of excited about getting Tesla here.
Yeah.
They trade up to go get him.
Yep.
And that's the 70th player overall. I mean, this is on the ground, boots on the ground. Biggs is at the Senior Bowl. First thing he tells me, Isaac Tesla. And I mean, huge rise for this guy. And I'm still getting him in the 4th round. So that's awesome. Love to see that. I could easily have kind of flipped. I could have flipped the blue pick. Blue wouldn't have been there. It's just I think Tesla should be a 3rd rounder. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. Based on draft capital alone, there's no reason for him to be available in the 4th round.
Yeah. No. So with Cam Ward, I explained that pick. Matthew Golden, 1st round wide receiver on a team that has multiple guys whose contracts are expiring, and they haven't had an answer and have given plenty of guys shots. Totally fine with the Golden pick. Just explain Blue and Tesla, and then LaQuint Allen. Just love the receiving upside out of the backfield. May have had the most receptions of any running back in his past year. Was 64, I believe. So 54, 64. The guy's crushing. And just think that could be some upside with that backfield where we don't really know what's going to happen in the future there with the backs that are currently on that roster.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So you did Genty, Scatterboo. Did you talk about Shuck?
I haven't talked about Tyler Shuck. 2nd round draft capital, and he's in a New Orleans QB room where Derek Carr may or may not play. He says he's injured, and he has the MRI to prove it. And then you got Jake Hayner and Spencer Rattler in front of him. I feel like with Shuck's experience, his size, and his arm, he very well could earn the starting job before by the 53-man roster day. And if he does that, he's got Alvin Kamara behind him. He's throwing to Chris Olave. He's got a healthy Rashid Shaheed. He could be in a really, really good situation. And Superflex quarterback in the 3rd round as a starter, take advantage of the fact that that's where his value is right now, because it won't be.
Look at that 3rd round for we don't even know if Carr's starting this year,
right?
Let alone 2026. When I just don't see Carr coming back. Like I just don't even see it in 2026. Like they've got to find a way out of that. But even if you're worried about Arch Manning going home to New Orleans, that's not how things turn out, guys. It's not going to work out like that. I could totally see Shaw keeping the job if he can prove himself. If it is that bad, maybe it is Arch Manning down the line. But in the 3rd round, getting a potential starting quarterback, he's the best value at quarterback over anyone, obviously, after him. So, when you first made that pick, I wasn't certain. I get why someone wants to be in on Brashard Smith, right? He's on the Chiefs, but I think 7th round. I can't remember right now. Pretty late, 228. You got to go. I think that's one of the best values in that round. My guy was Jalen Knoll. We'll talk about him in a sec. But it's basically Kyle Williams, Knoll are the only other guys I'd even be looking at over Shuck at that point.
I'm really into Kyle Williams. And if I had played my cards better, I might have had him instead of Shuck.
So real quick, let's run through yours with Felton. Is this any indication of Addison? I think Addison's safe, to be honest. But is this just we need a good wide receiver 4? Because their wide receiver 3 was decent last year too.
Yeah, it's just taking advantage of a Kevin O'Connell system where there's going to be a lot of hands to go around and injuries happen, and it's just banking on maybe he breaks out in a couple years. I'm not a fan of his size. He's not very big. I mean, he's tall, but he's fairly light. The other thing, and I do want to push this. So
Okay.
we do have the Undroppables Unscore that just dropped last night. To get that, you go to shop.theundroppables.com. Go to theundroppables.com and go to the shop. It's the first thing that comes up. Go buy your Dynasty Pulse t-shirt while you're at it. But go get the Unscore. It's only $20, and it's basically a wide receiver model that comps wide receivers going back to 2017, I want to say, and it gives them a score based on the metrics that FFDF and Jax Falcone and Chalk and Travis and everybody have been working on. And it'll tell you a lot about this wide receiver class. And one of those things is where Ty Felton pops up, and that unscore, that document, is a huge edge in your rookie drafts. It places guys where they should be based on all the data that goes into the model. The guys worked really hard on it. You absolutely use it in conjunction with your player profiler comps, your player profiler rankings, all that stuff. And it's not a ranking. It's just a score. It's just a way to kind of look and give you some context when you go into your draft, what you can expect from somebody. Some guys with a lower score, they'll comp to guys that have had okay careers as wide receiver 3. Some guys with a high score haven't had their top 12 breakout yet. So it's just a guideline. It's just another tool in your bucket, but be the one that in your rookie draft that has it. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Go check that out. And for the audio listeners, where can they find that?
Undroppables merch store. So go to the undroppables.com and hit the merch or the shop or whatever.
This will be added to a pod feed near you in the near future. And just with Raheem Sanders here, go ahead and close this out. Add it to the Chargers backfield.
It's a Chargers backfield coin flip. You know what I mean? Like I said, if I had known what I was doing at the time, I would have taken Larison. But I'm willing to to flip a coin on the Chargers running back.
Perfect segue from Raheem Sanders, Chargers running back, to the starting Chargers running back, Omarion Hampton. Maybe not week 1, but I ran a poll earlier today. A lot of people are saying week 1 he's a starter. Actually, the poll was how long before it's fully Omarion Hampton's backfield, and we got a lot on week 1. So there's people that are not even giving Najee week 1 to be an impact. I think it'll be some kind of a split as we normally see with these rookies. But Hampton, RJ Harvey, Jalen Noel, Woody Marks, Trevor Etienne all go to the 2-hole here with Dutz 13. I think he's got 2 great running backs here. One of my favorite wide receivers who we're thinking is a little bit of a faller from our pre-draft stock. He was going in the 2nd round consistently. He's in the 3rd round here. And Woody Marks, Trevor Etienne, who we think are some backup running backs there. So I really like those first 3 picks a lot.
One thing that we have to look at with Etienne is Rico Dowdle is ahead of him, but he's a cut candidate. And Trevor Etienne could be the passing down back in Carolina if Carolina plays it right. Woody Marks is a similar profile, but he's got Joe Mixon ahead of him. I think the thing that happened with Jalen Noel is that everybody had a very high grade on him. And Jaden Higgins absolutely escalated up draft boards in the NFL, wound up getting the draft capital in the Houston wide receiver core. And Noel came in a little bit later than we expected and on the same team, which already has Nico Collins, already has options. Tank Dell is there. Jaden Higgins is there now. It's a great story that both of them, are going to Houston to play together. Both of them coming from Iowa State. But it did complicate the wide receiver room in Houston. And I think that kind of hurt Noel the most.
Yeah, tough squad, but you nailed it, man. So let's roll to the 104. We've got Travis Hunter, Luther Burden, we got Terrence Ferguson, then we got Will Howard, Xavier Restrepo, who I believe went undrafted and then signed to the Titans as a UDFA. So Travis Hunter, he nailed that pick. That's a guy where we're hoping he gets that full receiver role. Right now, all the reports are he's going to start at receiver, and we're going to see how that plays. We could go into the offseason and training camp, and Jags aren't able to figure it out, and stuff could change this offseason. I'm going to lean for upside, so I'm going to say this is a good pick.
Yeah,
but I'm in multiple drafts, like I mentioned. He's going all over the place. And then we've got Luther Burden. I already said the name. So Luther Burden, there's another crowded situation. They did have Keenan Allen leave. You're still there with DJ Moore. I'm a big fan of DJ Moore. I can just see that with the direction of this team, with how many young players, including that young rookie quarterback contract, I could just see that next year in 2026 they don't continue to pay DJ Moore and they let Rome be the featured guy, and they have Luther Burden as the number 2, and then you have you also let probably Cole Kmet leave. Maybe you try to have this embarrassment of riches for more than just this one season, but they're going to know how this works out this year, and if they want to pay all those guys or not, and you have the luxury to kind of do it because you have that rookie quarterback contract. But if they want to spend that money on defense, they may already have enough weapons on offense to handle getting rid of some of those guys.
So here's the deal with DJ Moore. He has $60 million on his dead cap for 2025 and $35 million for 2026. It drops to $8 million in 2027. So I mean, that's and $4 million in 2028. So he's not going anywhere. You're going to have to make him happy. He's going to be paid. He's a $24 million cap hit with $60 million of dead cap if they can't cut him. So he's not going anywhere, and he basically would be playing the same type of role as Luther Burden. That's scary to me. It's another. They brought in a tight end along with Cole Kmet. I don't know what the Bears were thinking. Unless they're going to sit their rookies for a couple years behind the big contracts and the guys that have been around. But it is a new regime, so you never know what's going to happen. The guys that were already on the Bears roster, they're not the current regime's guys. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, until we get more clarity, it's very scary to me.
All right, let's keep rolling. Terrence Ferguson. So 46 overall. We've been seeing, first of all, injury. Tyler Higbee last season, he's been decent. You can't hate on what he's done. There's been other tight ends that were like, okay, maybe, but this is going to be their future at the position.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of gamers still had a question of what happens when, Matthew Stafford's gone and can whomever that is support these guys. The way I work with tight ends. Oh, by the way, next week, Biggs was connected with Andrew Cooper, the tight end guru. He'll be on the show next week, so come check that out. And we need to ask him his thoughts on Terrence Ferguson, because my thought is I still want a guy who's a top 2 target on his offense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm actually still a little bit worried about Colston Loveland. Like, he's just not going to get the volume, and neither is Terrence Ferguson in the near term. I don't expect Devontae Adams to be there more than 2 seasons. Still, I wouldn't overinvest in Terrence Ferguson at all.
Right. He's got great potential. It's not going to take a whole lot, especially given his athleticism, to outwork Tyler Higbee. We've been waiting for the axe to fall on Tyler Higbee for a while. Some of us fully bought into Colby Parkinson last year. But the one thing that Ferguson has going for him right now is the draft capital and his size. Yeah. He's a good player, and he got pretty good draft capital. But like you said, you want a guy who's going to be in the at least top 3 in target share. And it doesn't look like, especially with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, that he's going to get first or second target share.
All right, let's keep rolling. So Breakout 44. Thanks for jumping in here. We got T-Mac is, as he likes to be called, Tetero McMillan
Okay.
and Jaden Higgins. He did auto pick Shadur Sanders. It happens to some people. Devin Neal, Gunnar Helm, who I was a big hype train mover for, but he had horrible testing and he tried to blame it on tripping. But we'll see how his career pans out. He'd have to overcome a lot of statistical historical outliers to be good, but we're trying to say he tripped at the combine and rolled his ankle and still ran it. However, at his pro day, they hid the numbers. They did not publicly release the numbers at Texas pro day, so I lost all hope after that. So my fast draft bag is fully packed and I will not be adding any more Gunnar Helm. And then we've got overall I think your first 2 picks are great. Mulligan on this Shadur Sanders pick, and who knows? I see a lot of clickbait out there. What is Cleveland going to do? Shadur Sanders week 1 started. Like, it's obviously clickbait. The guy's going to have to wait and learn and develop. That's totally fine. But you might have a quarterback on your hands, so I can't hate the pick too much. To be honest, if Devin Neal was your 3rd and Sanders was your 4th, I'd be fine with it.
And I don't have high hopes for Devin Neal as a rookie. Kundry Miller has the draft capital over him at this point, and Kamara is still there, so it doesn't look like he's going to be doing much more than just kind of like spell work, relief work. We do have a pretty good question. Judkins, Harvey, or Johnson at the 1-9. And so how are we ranking these? I personally would go Johnson.
Okay. I'm going to go Judkins. And I know here in our draft, Johnson went to IMKC of the FF Dynasty, and he's been caping up for Caleb Johnson all offseason. That's his guy. I'm going to go with the draft capital of Quinshon Judkins, the first running back taken in the 2nd round, I believe, ahead of everyone's favorite Travion Henderson. Judkins, the coaches already said they were actually surprised they ended up taking a 2nd running back in the draft because they were just going to give Judkins the workload. Like, they were ready to just not take another running back in the draft. So I'm going all in on Quinshon Judkins ahead of Caleb Johnson, who is a great running back in my mind. I don't care that he's drafted in the 3rd round. If you're drafted on the 2nd day of the draft as a running back, I'm in on you. But I'm taking Quinshon Judkins over him.
And the 225-pound profile on Johnson just screams Dynasty superstar. And Judkins too. I think
the combine for Judkins screams superstar to me.
I feel like it's very, very close. RJ Harvey, again, he has a 2nd round draft capital, but I'm just scared of a Sean Payton backfield.
Yeah, well, I saw a stat earlier where anyone with Harvey's speed score combined with that draft capital has done pretty well. And Sean Payton, he's done pretty decent with his running backs that he's drafted. I'm going to get a little benefit out. Alvin Kamara, I think he had Ingram and Reggie Bush. Like, he's done decently.
But it's not likely that if you're drafting at the 109, you're going to have an opportunity to get all 3 of them, unless you are working some.
Oh yeah, no, if you have to pick, I can't go at that age over these other guys at all. I can't take a 24-year-old running back over these 2 21-year-olds. So he was already eliminated for me. All right,
and I look at both Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and they're in that AFC division that plays in the snow, and they should be running back driven, and I think you can't go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll just add I like the Cleveland offense better than than Pittsburgh. I don't know
for now. Yeah. But let's see what Arthur Smith does with Mason Rudolph.
Neither have a quarterback yet, but
they have 2 X receivers.
Yeah. All right, so let's get one more in here. So Travion Henderson goes to FFDF, and then he takes Trey Harris. So he's got a couple THs there. Elekeo Manor. Oh man. And then Dylan Gabriel. So he takes a Vegas guy, for you here at the quarterback position, but
he's a Montana State fan.
Okay.
For real. Right. He and I got together when Montana State played UC Davis, and it was Lane Larison against Tommy Malott.
There we go. Hey, it's a mock, and the dream's alive. Anyway, I'm good with these picks for the most part. Once you get into the third round, it is tough. I thought the question we just got here about who are some late round or third round targets. So, really for me, if Jaden Blue's there, I'm taking him. Kyle Williams is the guy who I had to stop my head. I just didn't say it. Kyle Williams is who I would have taken over Blue. I still want to only harp in on my running backs at that point, since Blue is the end of my tier for running backs. But I think you got to go Kyle Williams. He seems to be the wide receiver 2 immediately behind Stephon Diggs, and Diggs' career doesn't have another contract extension in him. So he's growing with Drake May and has a pretty bright future ahead of him. So I like Kyle Williams at the top of the third round. He may not be there by the time you're doing your drafts. If Noel is here, I'm still taking him. I don't have a lot of hope for Tank Dell, unfortunately. Too many injuries. I'm taking Noel, thinking that he's going to be that wide receiver 2. If we like Tank Dell as wide receiver 3, then I'll take Noel as wide receiver 3. And then I guess Shuck would be yours. Do you have any other third round targets? And I'll just throw a Tesla in there. I think Tesla should be in there.
Yeah. Isaac Tesla is one. I do like DJ Giddens in the back half of the third. I think he's basically a Jonathan Taylor injury away from starting. I like Taj Brooks. He'll basically be right there if anything happens to Chase Brown. So yeah, there are a few of them. Jaden Blue, like you said, if he's still around. Jalen Royals is interesting simply because it's a KC wide receiver room that you can't really ever count on, but he could establish himself at some point as the alpha in that room, which is weird. And then Harold Fannin, yes, he's got David Njoku ahead of him, but if Kevin Stefanski doesn't expect Harold Fannin to become a competent blocker first before he starts catching passes, we could see Harold Fannin very quickly as the tight end to own in Cleveland.
All right. And Jamie just asked specifically about Jarquez Hunter, Taj Brooks. Hunter is really shifty. I thought he was pretty explosive. Looks like here he goes in the third. So I think just as good as any. Probably should go ahead of Sampson. Maybe I would think.
Yeah.
Just I think it's locked and loaded for Judkins. But this team in particular took Judkins, so they just got their handcuff. I think that kind of makes sense in theory. Just since with the Rams, there is still 2 other guys that I think are ahead of them.
I think that Jarquez is interesting simply because he's with the Rams, and the Rams. Sean McVay, he does not. He looks at talent. He doesn't we talk about draft capital and we talk about dead cap and all this stuff, contracts. If you put it on the field, you're going to play. Nice. And the idea right now is that, of course, Kyron Williams is the RB1 in that room. He's a 77,000 dead cap. Not 7 million, not 77 million, 77,000. It costs them literally nothing. If they see Kyron Williams not being efficient in camp, they can cut him and not look back. Blake Corum is ostensibly the running back too. And there is kind of an idea that he's the next up if Kyron Williams is gone, which puts Hunter behind him. But what happens if Hunter outplays Blake Corum? Maybe Blake Corum thinks he's safe and Hunter's really hungry for a job, and suddenly he shows Sean McVay something that Corum's not showing. It wouldn't be any skin off of McVay's back to cut Kyron Williams real quick and Jarquez Hunter is the starter. Now, we thought that about Corum last year. So you don't know, but I have a feeling that Jarquez Hunter is one of those guys that you want to taxi. if you don't have taxi squad spots, draft him anyway, put him on your bench and wait. And it might not be this year, it might not be next year, but he's going to be a starter in the NFL at some point.
There we go. Let's keep rolling here. We only got a few more left. So Emeka Egbuka, we have him as a bit of a faller for immediate production, and I think long term he's going to be a fine player. Like, he could be the Godwin replacement. Baker Mayfield seems to be a good quarterback, so as long as he's a quarterback there for next few years, I think Buka's fine, good player. Jalen Milroe on the second. When you're in at the 1-7 spot or just the 7th position here, it's one of those things where I feel like you might be a contender. They might be looking for some upside, but I just don't know if the team really lets Milroe go this year at all. And I could, anything could happen. And next year, maybe Sam Darnold's out of the way. It's just hard to see you getting an immediate return. I mean, it's anything can happen. I get it, man. Injury and Milroe's up, and you're feeling like you've got Justin Fields 2.0.
I would have been much less optimistic with Milroe if they had kept Sam Howell.
Yeah.
But the fact that they moved on from Sam Howell makes me more optimistic for Milroe. But Milroe is the guy who is going to come in and be a starter in 2 or 3 years and have that Jalen Hurts profile. Depending on your build, if you have an early second or a late first, when we're talking about assets, Milroe could be one of the better assets that's out there, simply because of the potentialities in the next couple of years.
Yeah, let's look. Jack Besh, Arroyo, Taylor, Tootin, Rashard Smith. I mean, Shook obviously has the same scenario, if not more so, but maybe less of a ceiling. Noel, and I think Kyle Williams is probably where that ends as far as maybe guys that you would want over Milroe. And I think it's really just like Kyle Williams, Noel, Shook, and Besh, and maybe Mason Taylor or Arroyo or something like that, depending on the format. So I get the Milroe pick there.
Yeah. I love Egbuka. Don't expect him to break out this year, but consider him Jackson Smith-Njigba Part 2. Similar profiles, similar usage at Ohio State, both recruited by Brian Hartline, both went through Hartline's system, and they were used very similarly. And we knew that Smith-Njigba was gonna have to wait a little bit before we knew Addison was gonna be the big scorer out of that class, but Njigba was gonna be the better player. And I think Egbuka is kind of in that same vein as Jackson Smith-Njigba. So a couple of years down the line, wide receivers start falling out of the Tampa Bay system, and Egbuka takes over.
All right, and then the KC Royals, Jalen Royals.
Mm-hmm.
Any upside here? This 4th rounder. I don't love 4th rounders, but he's on the Chiefs. We've seen them starting Juju and Hopkins, and those, a ton of injuries. We expect the Rashee Rice injury is on the milder side of that type of knee injury. So we think this wheels up. I believe they brought back Hollywood Brown, so they'll have that. Maybe in 2026. Who knows? Even this year, but you've got Kelsey potentially leaving in 2026. So as far as Royals, I mean, is there a shot that he's a good stash?
Absolutely. He profiles really well. He's a deep threat. He's reception perception really, really liked him coming into the draft. The draft capital and the Chiefs landing spot kind of hurt his stock a little bit. But that doesn't mean that sometime down the line he won't produce.
Yeah,
we got a question from Jamie. Would you drop Howell for Gabriel? No, I would not.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
That Brown situation is crazy. But Howell was crushing production wise. He's just the leading the league in sacks. and that
Right.
and that doesn't work for the real NFL. But if there's an injury in front of him, he'll produce for fantasy.
Correct.
All right. We're rolling. Tyler Warren. So in theory, he was a faller, but he still goes multiple picks in front of Colson Loveland, who he was drafted behind. And I think he has a incredibly much worse quarterback situation. So, Tyler Warren, Jack Besh, Kyle Williams, Quinn Ewers, Damian Martinez. So he ends up having one of the best third round picks of the draft. And we already touched on Kyle Williams. I'd like to hear your thoughts on taking Warren over Loveland. We had a question in the chat. If it's tight end premium, do you consider taking these guys a little bit earlier? And I know this is tight end premium, but where's the value kind of? And we'll talk about this more, guys, next week when we have Andrew Cooper on for the tight end episode.
I don't know. I still like Loveland better. I don't know about situation, but I mean, who does Warren have to beat out? Jelani Woods?
Oh, nobody. He's not beating out any tight end.
People have been beating out Jelani Woods every year.
He's more dynamic than Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman last year was playing through a back injury, but I don't care. I like Warren's versatility way more than whatever they're going to do with Pittman. Pittman's going to be that X receiver out there. And obviously Josh Downs isn't going anywhere. The fact that everyone mocked Tyler Warren to the Colts and he went to the Colts, and the Colts always seem to be, want these tight ends. It's like in my mind, shouldn't there be a lot of value on Tyler Warren? But at the same time, with Anthony Richardson, I'm just a little bit nervous. When I'm talking about him versus Colson Loveland, when we know that Loveland, his new coach, was the one that helped Sam Laporta have a great year, like you had mentioned. And, there's the offense. I just feel like the offense with all of those weapons for the Bears, I don't care who the targets are. There's so many options that there has to be more positive plays in my mind. I'm thinking there has to be more positive plays. Like, forget the positive game script that may make it more run versus pass heavy. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying if we're talking tight ends getting a touchdown in the end zone in the red zone, I'm more likely to think that's Loveland who's going to have more touchdowns at the end of 2025 than Colson Loveland. Colson Loveland will have more touchdowns than Tyler Warren in 2025.
Right. That you may not be wrong. Let me look at Spot Track real quick and find me some Cole Kmet.
Who I like, but
yeah, you have to. The guy produces every year. It's ridiculous. But he is only 4.8 million in dead cap. So if they feel like it's a better option to go with Loveland and pay the freight for so 4.8 million versus 11.6. So they're paying him 11.6 if he stays. They're paying 4.8 if he goes. So that could be a situation where Kmet may be looking for a job at some point this summer.
Yeah. He's got talent. He'll do just fine. But I wanted you to talk about Jack Besh, another Senior Bowl story that you were on early before the game, but obviously the game he ended up being the Senior Bowl MVP. We all know his story beyond that. But let's he's on your Raiders, man. Go off, man.
The Raiders wide receiver or pass catching core just got complicated. Deontay Thornton is the sacrificial X. He's the guy that they're going to stick out wide. He's going to be stuck to the line of scrimmage, and they're going to say, go! And he's going to run as fast as he can, as far down the field as he can, and then Geno Smith is going to work underneath with the safeties up top, trying to account for Thornton. Thornton doesn't do much beyond run down the field. Listening to reception perception, apparently he has like a pretty big curl rate and good separation on curls. He had 40% of his routes at Tennessee were curl routes, which is just kind of insane. Geno Smith has the ability to throw the ball deep. So if Thornton with his 4.3 speed. It doesn't take a lot of development for speed, right? So if he can rip the top off the defense, he could be seeing like a huge ADOT. He could be seeing huge yards per reception, just based on being a deep threat, which is kind of what I tabbed for Trey Tucker, but he could very easily go in and just completely overtake Tucker. Then you got Jacoby Myers, who's going to be obviously working ahead of Jack Besh. I feel like in three receiver sets, it's going to be Myers over Besh because they're very similar in their route participation and everything. They're both basically power slots. And then you got Brock. And long as Brock doesn't see a Sam Laporta fall, a Kyle Pitts type fall as a sophomore, it is a new offense. It's a Chip Kelly offense. It's not what they were running with last year. I still think that Bowers is the go-to guy in that offense, which is great, but we have no idea at this point what Chip Kelly is going to do. So Besh is a good lottery ticket. He's going to be a good receiver. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to equate to fantasy points. So we just kind of have to, hope that his second round draft capital elevates him, and he's, they don't need to have Trey Tucker at all, I guess.
Yeah, I dropped him in Dynasty. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I
had to make some room for these rookies, and I agree. It made it complicated. It made it better overall, and this is great for Ashton Genty. I think it's harder to stack the box. I think the only reason you go Thornton in the the fourth round, after already spending on a receiver in the second round in Jack Besh, is because you don't want any chance of them stacking the box on Ashton Genty. You got Brock Bowers, who's close to the line of scrimmage. You got Genty, who could be an outlet receiver. But a lot of these other guys, and just how you mentioned with Thornton stretching the field, I love this offense. So I wonder how slow people are going to be to react to what the Raiders have done with the coaching change and everything. This is a complete overhaul for the Raiders. So I'm excited in 2020.
They always are. I got offered, somebody sent me a DM, not a trade offer, but a DM. What would it take to get Trey McBride? And I went and I looked at his roster, and he still has Brock Bowers on the taxi squad. All right. We got a question from South. DJ Giddens or Dylan Sampson at 305? I'm going Giddens.
All right. Nice. Good question. All right. So we'll roll on IMKC. We got Caleb Johnson, Elijah Royal, Harold Fannin Jr., Jordan James, and we got another Green Bay Packer wide receiver, Savion Williams. He's like a Cordell Patterson type in theory. We'll see how that really pans out. We talked about how Johnson, you have him over Judkins, so that means you like this pick. And then Royal also got decent draft capital. He was behind Mason Taylor, but still 50th overall. So I could see after Fant is gone, after this contract ends this season, he could be the guy. I had just done a startup where I had drafted AJ Barner, hoping maybe he would be the answer. Nope, it's going to be Elijah Arroyo. And with it being JSN and Cooper Kupp, who's a little bit older, this is a scenario where I think maybe down the line he could find himself as a top 2 target, which is what I prefer. You said top 3. I want him to be top 2. So I can see the path for Elijah Arroyo down the line as he continues to develop and learn the game.
Well, 90 targets is basically the point. And whether it's your, the second highest target share or third highest target share, as long as you can get to that 90 target level. Interesting that Barner and Arroyo are the same age.
Exactly. Crazy.
Barner's taller. I love Barner.
Yeah, he's more of an inline blocker, but he was making some plays last year.
And we'll talk to Coop about that next week, because I think I brought it up on this show. One of the things on the first show that he did with me a few weeks ago, we talked about the number of tight end 3s of their draft class that have been successful, and the list is not very long. So we will get to the bottom next week of whether or not this is the historical draft class with 7 tight ends that hit, or if history follows and we really only get 2.
Yeah, because round 3 draft capital for Harold Fana Jr. is still good, and we like the college production. We love the college production and the age. He may need more time to develop behind Njoku, but let's roll since we're almost out of time, and we only have 3 more guys left, and we at least got to get to our guys, Chev.
Yep.
QJ, Quinshon Judkins, we'll find a nickname for him. Mason Taylor, great pick. Went 4 picks, or actually 8 picks ahead of Elijah Arroyo, and then you got Dylan Sampson, Isaiah Bond, who I don't think has been picked up yet, so that's a bad pick. He has off the field issues. Maybe he'll get picked up later, but you have to say that's risky for now. To not get drafted and to not get picked up in free agency. Usually teams will overlook it if it's something small, but his incident happened within draft month, earlier this month. So anyway, and then Tez Johnson, who we liked his ability to get open. Great player. Combine hurt him. He could be a crazy sleeper if something happens, breaks his way.
I love Mason Taylor's landing spot. It was it's been talked about that his ideal landing spot would be the Jets or Miami, and he landed on the Jets. So
there we go. Jets were continuously mocked one of the top 2 tight ends, but they still end up getting the 3rd tight end off the board. And don't sleep on Mason Taylor, guys. You've been warned. All right, we'll get to the last 2 picks here. Chev and Curdy, who has also Curdy's been a guest on Dynasty Degens on the Player Profiler Now Network.
Undroppables,
guys. Yes, obviously he's with Undroppables. And Chev goes Colson Loveland, Bashal Tootin, Jarquez Hunter, Rondé Gatson, who he's been big on in all of these mocks, and Kyle Monungai. So how do you feel about Chev's draft here? I think you got a steal on the tight end 1. I think for you, let me know, would you still take Dart over him, or how are you feeling with his overall?
I love Chev's draft, of course. The Monungai pick is interesting. Swift is not a cut candidate, but he's got to beat out Roshan, but it is a new offense. I love Oronde Gadsden. We'll talk about that next week because I refuse to give up on him.
All right. We'll keep rolling. We like the athleticism for Tutton. So, you got Tutton, LaQuint Allen, that combo. We'll see how that shakes out. Give that a year. But anything can happen. There's a ton of injuries this past year for the Jags.
They got 2 third down backs.
Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out. And then, Curdy, Jackson Dart, you get you a first-round quarterback with good weapons around him. And, supposedly quarterback guru and Brian Daboll. Rashard Smith, we talked about that pick. DJ Giddens, Taj Brooks. We were worried about Bengals getting a guy for Chase's sake, but I think that's a good landing spot for Brooks himself. Mm-hmm. And then we got Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt to close us out on the Washington Commanders. Just like the offense, so why not take a dart throw? Who knows, especially at the running back position. So any other final thoughts on Curdy's draft or any other thoughts on the draft here as we close?
I like that one too. I did get offered the other day my 409 and Jaden Reed for Brian Robinson Jr. and the 209, and I smashed it.
Nice, man.
Move up 2 rounds and get the RB1 and for a team that drafted Krosky Merritt, and that's it. I mean, I hurt my thumb.
Well, smash that like button. Hurt your thumb doing that, guys. And we appreciate y'all jumping in here in this mock draft with us. Any other news or closing thoughts as we get our way out of here?
No, we'll see you next week with Andrew Cooper. So make sure that you tune into that one.
Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate everybody. We made it. We made it through the draft. Next time we see you, it will be May, and that's only 4 months away from day 1 of the NFL season. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the host, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.